let's get back to the whole IAB investigation though into this, right? Because I think it's really important before we move on, go to different news. I think it's really important to highlight exactly what happened. So the NYPD is playing games. They're like, oh, there was no crime there, nothing happened. Oh, but you need to report this to the St. Johns County Sheriff Office, as in my case. In Eric's case, they're not telling him where he needs to report it to. They won't. You know why? Because in Eric's case, it goes back to New York City. In my case, it goes back to New York City too. But definitely in Eric's case. So
not Malaysia, John. You sure?
No, yeah, not Malaysia. They're not gonna ask Malaysia to do the investigation and then take it over once they realize that in fact the person that was making the threats was an NYPD officer engaged in these acts while at work in the confines of multiple boroughs in New York City. Sometimes on duty, sometimes off duty. So yeah, they don't want to do that, so they don't send any cops to Eric's house. They only decide they're going to send cops to my house without informing me, without telling me. I would have told them no, obviously, because I know that there's nothing that the St. Johns County Sheriff could do, because they would essentially what the NYPD Internal Affairs Bureau and a lot of people who claim to be cops and claim to have a lot of knowledge about the police department continuously are telling me is that, well, because you live there, the complaint goes back to you. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't. So I was like, so essentially you want, and I vocalized this. We were on the phone. We did a three-way with one of the guys that got kicked out of IAB for covering up all the other corruption that was happening under Ed Caban and Eric Adams. And then so we thought we were going to get a new investigator, and that never happened. But when we had the investigator that was just there, placed there to cover up the corruption for Caban and all of them and Adams, I said, so you want me to go to my local sheriff's office and tell them that an NYPD cop is threatening my children? He was in the confines of New York City and at work. The NYPD has identified him, won't tell me who he is, but they want you guys to conduct the investigation. And you think, I was like, and you think that that's normal to tell anyone? Never mind, tell someone who was a lieutenant on this job for 18 years and the other guy who was a lieutenant for 18 years and sit there and think that we're two morons. And I'm going to go there. Yeah, please, could you take a report for me for, because IB told me that, they won't tell me the name of the guy, but, they want you to conduct the investigation for the cop that they know who it is. And yeah, I'm not doing that. I was like, I'm not doing that because that's retarded. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm not an idiot. And you're talking to two lieutenants. You're not talking to anybody else. And by the way, we didn't serve our entire career in the Internal Affairs Bureau like the people that have been investigating this case, right? But I've served enough to see how it works and to know how the intertwinings of a case happen. So I was there long enough to know that's not how an internal investigation works. And I was a cop for a long time to know that's not how a complaint works. That's not how an investigation works. And that's not how an arrest works. So I know the whole aspect of all of it. And you're sitting there and talking to us like we're an idiot. So then we get a new investigator. And, I wasn't hopeful. Eric wasn't hopeful. But maybe, who knows? Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Jessica Tisch did clean up the Internal Affairs Bureau. Maybe that happened, right? Maybe that happened. She cleaned it up. It's good. So Eric goes, after 3 months of, we get another, special investigator from Group 1, the top tier, the number one group in internal affairs, the Special Investigation Unit, and it's filled with SDSs and LSAs and all this other garbage. All these people with their fancy titles, investigators, integrity, pride, all this bullshit, right? Give the guy 3 months to go over the case, and he comes back and he's telling us to follow the advice of the guy that got kicked out for covering up drugs. And so Eric's like, you didn't take a report? You didn't take a report? You didn't take a criminal report? No, you got to go. John has to go to his local sheriff. He's like, well, what about me? Where do I go? No response.
No one answered me.
No response, right? And all I do is I ask in the chat. I just go in because I see them going back and forth on the email. I wasn't even involved in the conversation. I just go back. I see the email, and I ask, are you refusing to take a report for us? ? And 1 week later, on a Saturday evening, St. Johns County sheriffs come rushing to my home. 15 months after the threats happened to my kids. 15 months.
You know, it's interesting also. What you said, John, right? Yeah, right now we're civilians. We're retired from the police department, but we have almost 20 years experience each. So combined, almost 40 years experience. And we both were lieutenants, and we both were evaluated extremely high. When we had spoke to the first case investigator, his name is Richard Galvez. And just to give you a little background, Richard Galvez had worked in the 7.5 and the 7.3. Who else worked in the 7.5 and 7.3? Kenneth Daughtry, Jeffrey Madry. Again, just little inferences of connections that we see with this case. Is that a coincidence? Some may say it is. Some may say it's not. I believe Richard Galvez, who was the first case investigator, was handpicked and selected for this case. Now, we were told not to be alarmed. The person was identified behind the fake moniker, All Cops Are Woke. That person resigned from the job. So I said, okay, give us the information on how the investigation played out. What details were uncovered from the GO15? So if anyone's listening right now, if you're active retired NYPD, you know what GO15 is. If you're outside law enforcement, General Order 15, that's where you sit down with a tape recorder during your investigation. I'm not sure whatever terminology you use. So I asked, what information was obtained in that GO15? What did you learn? And what did it reflect on any allegations or charges that John and I made in regards to this case? And what was I told? None of that information could be provided to us because it was a compelled statement. I said, wait a minute. What do you mean it's a compelled statement? Do you know what a compelled statement means? I said, compelled means that it's a statement made under duress. That's not what this is. This is a General Order 15. This is information that you can provide to us to keep us safe and so that you can utilize this when you file that complaint. And we've been completely stonewalled. At no point, any case investigator that we've had, and we all know active and retired police officers, we know damn well that the NYPD should have filed charges and made the arrest for aggravated harassment and notified the feds because this social media threat crosses state lines.
So the cops were sent to my house, right? They were sent to my house. Who sent them to my house, right? That was the question I had. Why did you send cops to my house that I didn't request for an investigation that they can't handle, for a crime that they can't prosecute? Why did you send those cops to my house on a Saturday night without informing me? So we got the 911 tape. So here's the audio of the top tier Group 1. Let's hear how proficient and competent IB Group 1 is. Let's hear who they pick to put in charge of this crucial investigation that told all of you that the entire upper echelon of the NYPD, including the chief of internal affairs, is corrupted and associating with known criminals. Who told you that before they were all removed out of the NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau and some removed from IAB? Who told you that there was shenanigans going on in Chief Jeffrey Madry office? Who told you that there was criminality happening and shenanigans happening in Ed Caban's office? Who told you that the overtime, right? Let's see who they put in charge of this vital investigation. Let's see who runs Group 1 and who their investigators are. Let's start to listen to Sergeant Travis Rutherford as he sends St. Johns County sheriffs to my home without knowing if I was there 15 months after threats were made. Let's hear it.
Teletype, Maddie.
Hey, good evening. Sergeant Rutherford. I'm calling New York City Police Department.
What's up?
Hey, I wanted to see if I can make like a refer complaint over to you guys. I have one of our former employees who live down in your jurisdiction, and I wanted to refer a complaint on their behalf.
Okay.
Tell me, what do you? Well, first I will give you the address to see if you guys do cover that area.
Go ahead with it.
It's
And what was the complaint?
basically they informed us that they received threatening posts via Instagram. So someone sent them like photos of a firearm and this.
I'm going to stop it right there. I just want you to listen to this. Someone Someone sent them threatening messages. Not an NYPD cop, not an NYPD sergeant, someone. Not someone who's a potential threat to the sheriffs or to me. Not someone that potentially owns firearms. Someone, right? I just want to hone in on that real quick. Keep listening.
They stated that they're coming down to Florida to harm them and their family.
And you're an ex-coworker of this subject?
No. I am from New York City Police Department.
No, he's not an ex-coworker. He doesn't work in the New York City Police Department.
Internal Affairs. This person worked. He's retired from our agency.
Okay. Good job listening, Travis. You're doing a great job. Your listening skills are phenomenal. He's probably great in the GO. He's probably awesome.
Before you go any further, it's important to know, friends and listeners, why you listen to this, ask yourself, why does he sound so sheepish? Travis Rutherford, you're a piece of shit. He sounds so sheepish because he knows what he's doing is wrong right now. He's being extremely vague, and you can hear in his voice how awkward and uncomfortable it is, and he's completely omitting information. The fact that it's not real time, saying that it's someone, and then saying it's someone, from the police department, because he knows what he's doing wrong. You can hear in his voice how sheepish he sounds. Hassan, you're absolutely right. He's a bum. You're a bum, because there's no doubt in my mind Travis Rutherford didn't take it upon himself in this investigation to make this call. He was definitely directed to. So sheepish. Listen to him. Keep going further.
Everybody's very curious about my shirt today. This is another Sergio Tacchini, Pat. All right, another war for you, bro. Yankee colors. All right.
It does look like male lingerie.
That's it. This is called a resort shirt. All right. I just walk around Florida with my buttons open.
Do you have underwear on?
That's it.
Do you have underwear on?
Sorry. I swear there was like 15 comments about my shirt. You wear pajamas.
It's been all day.
Yeah.
I just gotta say, how terrible at his job is Travis. I mean, I've contacted many police departments outside of New York City. I've never had to go through 911 to reach them. Like what are you doing? Yeah, there are many places you can call. What about the Fusion Center in Florida? What are you doing? You could have reached their headquarters just by calling the Fusion Center. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. He called 911 deliberately. This here is it's so intentional, and that's why he knows it. You hear in his voice how sheepish and how awkward he sounds, because he knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows this is damn right wrong, especially to call 911. If you really thought Florida should investigate this case, this is not in real time. You could have called their detective squad. You could have contacted someone. It's not exactly a busy department like New York, but to call 911, you can hear it in his voice. It's like, that's why he's saying someone. He just wants to get this call over with because he knows what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah. Someone told him, and he went and he was like, "Oh, let me just get it done somehow. Let me just get it done and over with."
But keep in mind, he probably has SDS, or maybe he's getting it. This is New York's finest right here.
Slight Down syndrome? What do you mean, SDS?
He's got
Sergeant Detective Squad. Yeah. That's right. When you get it, when you go to some inspector who worked in internal affairs his entire career, never went out on the street, who's about this big, who I could probably flick across the street. I could probably just go like this, and he'll go across the street, and you just go, "What do I do here?" And they give you a checklist of things to do. Here, do this, and this. And then 15 months later, he comes up with a genius idea.
Okay.
Let's refer the complaint and not the complainant. I think that's what those guys do in the New York City Police Department, right? But it fails on your face when you already conducted the investigation and you know that it's a New York City police officer, right? Inspector. Right. So, yeah, I'm talking about the new CO of Group 1, by the way, in case you want to know. I don't want to give you a name because I don't want anyone to really care who you are. But,
by the way, they're still terrible at their job. You're not going to hear about it today, but we're going to get to that another story involving Group 1. and they're terrible at their job still.
So all right, let's get back to it. So, all right. So competence, you hear breathing through the phone. You know why this person has SDS. Right? You know why. You hear the competence. He says nothing that this guy's a cop. He goes on. He wants to refer the complaint. He's not saying that they conducted an investigation. He's not saying anything they found. Let's hear how much he investigated. Let's hear what he's got to say. Hold on. Here we go.
And they pretty much have notified us via like a complaint to us. I'm from their internal affairs up in New York City.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Great job, Travis.
Did they say what the threats were?
It's photos and it's one of the threats specific because I have them. I'm looking at it right now.
Give me 1 second. I have radio traffic. Give me 1 second.
He's looking at it right now. Like, you need to look at it to remember that these threats, he didn't describe exactly what are on these pictures. They're just some photos.
He sounds very well versed in the case, though. I'm looking at it right now. Good job, Travis. Good job. He's doing his one worksheet a week on the case. I notified 15 months later. Here you go.
I want to see that DD5. Call 911.
I'm not even mad. I like the only retribution I want is I just want to be able to read his case. I just want to read his case closings prior to them going through all their checks. And I want to read the worksheets that he does in this case. Because I guarantee, in all of his cases, actually, because I guarantee they're a work of art, but not in a good way. I guarantee it. All right. I think she steps away for a second. Hold on. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Travis is busy looking at the case right now.
Like, what is this?
Threats on Instagram, and it was pictures. And what was
it's a picture. And so, for example, one was a photo of a rifle, and it stated that we are after your home now. They have like an abbreviation. It's ACAW, and he stated that ACAW is after your home now. And we know who the person were during our investigation here. We identified the person who made those posts.
Again, nothing that this person's a cop, nothing that this person has access to firearms, nothing that this person was under their jurisdiction. Again, to Marlon's point, you want to refer an investigation that you did. Why? I don't know. Because ultimately, it's a crime that goes back to New York City to the DA's office. So you want the St. Johns County Sheriff Office to run your investigation and tell you how you need to arrest people and go to the Brooklyn and the Manhattan DA in order to prosecute? That's what you need, Travis? So, but like, let's say you want to do that. You're trying to relay case info to the detective squad over 911. There's nothing. You don't relay a case closing, case notes. You're describing photos over the phone to 911. Like, honestly, like, I would expect, like, when I heard the call, I was like, this guy can't be a sergeant in the New York City Police Department. This is like, sounds like a lazy squad sergeant telling his cadet, yo, do me a favor, notify Ohio PD XYZ.
Yeah.
And he's calling like, Ohio. I don't know, my boy. I don't know what's going on.
John,
I don't know. Like, am I wrong? Like,
I kind of wonder. Like, maybe he's that stupid. Maybe they say, listen, contact the police department in Florida, and he couldn't find the phone numbers. Just call 911. Hello. I can't. You have to assume they'd be a little smarter than that. Like, I call the local precinct in St. Johns County. Yeah, I'll call 911. They do it in New York, so I might as well do it here.
Listen, I think we're being too hard on Travis. You know, I'm looking at his collars there. He has 34 collars.
Made sick. Well, to be fair, though, that's 3 times the amount of the greatest cop that ever worked in the New York City Police Department, Eric Leroy Adams. So he has 3 times the amount. So going by that bar, I see why he's a sergeant detective squad. It must have been amazing, all of those collars that a sergeant ordered him to take. I mean, it must have been amazing. 34 sergeant detective squad. Yeah.
KB's got to get him promoted. 4/4/2024 SDS.
I mean, dude, and here's the other thing. Like, all right, screw his collars. Screw his collars. All right. Everyone's like, collars don't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. I don't know how long he was a cop. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he's doing other thing. Maybe it doesn't matter. Does this guy sound like he deserves to be promoted as a sergeant? Does he even sound like a sergeant? Does he sound like he even knows what he's talking about or what he's doing? Who told you to call 911, you moron?
That's what I'm saying.
Are you a moron? Like at 8:30 at night on a Saturday?
Well, I tell you what, easy to just complete moron. Well, that's what I'm saying. You listen to him. It sounds so sheepish to me. It's like, it's someone like he just wants to get through it because he knows he's doing wrong, or he's just that much of an idiot. I think it's both.
It's both, dude. It's him being ordered to do it, and it's also that he's an incompetent loser. Like he sounds like a cadet on the phone. Does this sound like a sergeant of police to you? Does this sound like someone who's well versed in their job? He's like,
Well, and I bet you and I could get St. Johns County on the phone in 2 seconds. We wouldn't have to call 911. We'd find the phone number.
Yeah,
you would never do that, dude. You'd be like, oh no. Is there a detective squad I could call in the morning? You would never do that. You would never do what he's doing.
Right.
No one in their right mind, as slightly competent and knows police work, would 8:30 on a Saturday night. I'm on the phone with a 911 operator trying to refer a complaint that I already investigated that involves threats. Nobody's doing that. You're gonna be like, let me speak to a squad guy, or let me speak to somebody, let me speak to a cop. I don't want to speak to a 911 operator.
I love Case though. He's like, yeah, we investigated fully. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. What were the threats? All right. Let's see. I mean, this is a great piece of work. Yeah. This is unbelievable. Great job, Travis. Again, it's not a knock on you. The system failed you, but don't worry. You're 3 times more collars than the greatest police officer ever, Eric Leroy Adams.
And the second post, for example, showed like a photo with a woman and a child, and stated like, hopefully nothing happens to your family. Kids are precious. And then like another one is of a map of the United States, and it shows that basically like a route, and it says we're coming to Florida to see you.
What is the victim's name?
The victim is, first name is John, common spelling. Last name is Macari, Macari.
Great job, Travis.
And is he going to be at his residence to meet with us for a report?
Yes, for all intents and purposes, I believe he's because he lives down there now.
For all intents and purposes.
Is he going to be home? Yeah, for all intents and purposes, because I believe, because he lives down there now. Travis, I'm not always home, dude. You sent cops to my house. Thankfully, I was home. That could have just been my wife and my kids there. Thankfully, I was home. And to my neighbors, it just looked like that I'm a skell dirtbag that beats my wife, and the cops had to come to my house. Thankfully, and by the way, I live in a gated community, so anyone that comes to my door, I'm notified ahead of time about, unless what? It's the cops. So I was completely startled with flashlights outside my house and banging on my door. So thanks a lot, Travis.
But hold on a minute, John. John, hold on. We're all laughing here, but I've been saying this since the beginning of this, of you being swatted, right? How did he know you're going to be home? I mean, this is 8:30 Saturday night, and we know he watches the podcast. IB watches the podcast, so does the upper echelon. And quite often, John, you're like, I went away this weekend. I went to St. Pete's. I went here. I went there. That's my question. It's Saturday night. How did he know you're going to be home? Because he sounded pretty confident. It says like to send them now. That's a question I have. How did he know you're home?
I totally disagree with that. He sounded confident.
Not confident the whole thing. Just on that part.
I cannot.
Because
second
goes
that
back-
he sounded confident or competent. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Definitely not
do it.
confident. Definitely not confident. I'm saying with that point.
I know. I'm just joking.
But how do you know you're gonna be home? Honestly, unless it's just like we said with Marlon, like he just didn't know the phone number and called 911 and just take it. He said, maybe he didn't think you're gonna send him right then.
Here's my other question, right? Just think about this logically, right? 911 is for imminent emergencies, okay? You're wasting 911's time, right? She could be answering a call from a civilian who's like getting robbed right now, right? You couldn't even think to just ask, hey, can I get the number to headquarters? Do you have the number to headquarters next to you? I mean, it's just mind-boggling that you got a guy with at the time he had I'm looking at 13 years on. That it's mind-boggling that someone with 13 years on who's a boss is doing this without thinking. You know? That in fact, I wonder what St. John's Sheriff's Office was thinking when they heard that. They must have been like, "This is the NYPD."
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
I can't believe this is.
They were.
Yeah.
You could tell. You could tell. They must have been so unimpressed. But even the 911 person on the phone, you could tell she's like, "What? Who?" She's asking the right question, like who, what, where, when, why, and he's not giving this. He's not really describing it. She's lost. And is it a member of the NYPD? Is it not? At this point, it seems she still doesn't know.
No, I mean, well, he doesn't know. He doesn't even tell her. Like, why is IAB calling me? Like, why is the Internal Affairs Bureau for the NYPD referring this complaint? We know who this guy is. All right. I mean, I'm not blaming the 911 operator, but the obvious next question is, oh, was this guy a cop that was threatening him? Like, why are you investigating it? I mean, let's just leave that out so that they take the complaint, And then my other thing is like what Marlon's saying, like it's so true. Like you hear her taking 911 calls on the side, like hold on one second, I'll be right back. Right? She's taking other 911 calls. You elicited a false, unwanted response, 911 response to my house, and you misconstrued improper information about that I was going to be home. And about the call itself. So it made the St. Johns County Sheriffs rush to my house because they want to help me. They're like, oh, this retired guy's getting threats. And Kayla Mamalek, Eric Adams, Jessica Tisch, and the rest of the New York City Police Department saw nothing wrong with this. And so, like, we're making fun of him right now, and you hear it. It's incompetence. It's unconfidence. I mean, the guy's honestly, he should be like, asking you what you want at Dunkin' Donuts. Like, do you want milk and sugar in it? And he ain't going to get that right. I promise you. Him and Adams maybe could be a shift manager. It's going to be the worst one shift, but maybe just due to his experience. But like, there's been no correction because of it either. Kayla Memelek said I was a liar and this was misinformation. And the NYPD and the girl in DCPI that runs it now said, oh no, this was handled properly. We were just referring the complaint 15 months later, completely improperly, to 911 and eliciting a false response. I mean, this is a crime, what he did. It's a literal crime. Honestly, if it wasn't the NYPD, I mean, you see what happens in the jurisdictions in Florida, there would have been a big problem. Like that sheriff's office would have been pissed. They were pissed when they heard the story, when they got to my house, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. They're like, wait, you did not know we were coming here? I'm like, does it look like I know I'm coming here? I'm naked. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I was like, no, I didn't know you were coming. I just got home from the beach.
That's right. That's why I'm saying it was, like I said, he's either a complete moron or, he was sheepish because he knows what he's doing wrong, or it's both. And if it doesn't, it's either what Maul and I were saying, joking around, that he just doesn't know how to call the police department, calls 911, or he was directed to call 911 for that reason, to cause alarm to you. Why call 911 on a Saturday night? That, to me, that's the most alarming time. Most likely you would not be home, but since you are home at that time, relaxing with your family, why call 911 at that time? And especially they watch the podcast, they know that you're home in the morning. Why not call in the morning time? Doesn't have to be Travis to call. It could be anybody. A complete moron. This was intentional. They wanted to elicit a response from you. To me, that's alarming. Maybe it's a little far-fetched, but who knows? Cops are responding. you're a retired member of service, you have firearms, it could cause a problem. It could be a disaster.
Now, for those of you who are watching this, right? Though, and those of you on the job who are thinking, "Oh, this is just pictures," right? Let me tell you, it's not just pictures. We have an entire bureau of cops and detectives who investigate threats like this all the time. I told you before I was in Leeds, and Leeds gets a lot of these cases where somebody on the internet posts a picture of a firearm next to a politician's name, next to a somebody of prominency in the community, right? We investigate these incidents all the time, and we look at it and we try and determine, is this legit? Was he just trolling? But in either case, a case is built on it, okay? And a case is brought to a conclusion, okay? And those cases go all the way to the top because they're read out by the chiefs and 1PP. So if you're thinking this is this shouldn't have been taken seriously, you're completely wrong on this, okay? And if that cop had done that to a politician or anybody else besides John and Eric, that case would have been brought to its conclusion, okay? But the job just didn't take this seriously, and there's a reason why it didn't take it seriously, because they didn't want stones to be unturned.
100%. And Popeye Dammit says, in small departments, when you call precincts, other than 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, it goes to dispatches in the 911 system. Exactly. And this moron, who's in the top tier, the number one investigative group in the New York City Police Department, who has the top pay sergeant at SDS, he's a sergeant detective squad, doesn't realize that he's on the phone with a 911 operator. And this is how he's referring the complaint. It's 100%. You're 100% correct. But he doesn't realize he's on the phone with 911. He thinks he's like talking to he thinks he's talking to the girl in the 124 room. Like, he has no idea what's happening. Like, dude, you're on the phone with 911, you moron, and you're not even giving any of the information properly. Is he home? Oh, for all intensive purposes. Yeah, he lives there now. How do you know I wasn't in New York? You moron.
What is this, a training exercise for intents and purposes? I mean, it's like it's a training
for all intensive purposes, yeah. Yeah. All right. For all intensive purposes, let's finish. Let's see what other. Let's see why he made SDS. Let's hear it, because I hear the competence in you. And Travis, I'm not mad at you, by the way, but you're a moron. I'm sorry. You don't deserve SDS, and your CO is a moron too, and whoever your lieutenant is too, and I'm sure I know them too. I'm sorry. Anybody involved that touched this, you know what I want to say, but I'm not going to say it because we already get shadow banned enough.
She's typing away all that great information Travis provided.
Travis is still reading the case notes.
His DD5 right now is call 911.
Yes. 1 minute.
1 minute. Let me get my stuff together while I pretend I care about this case.
First name is...
He's looking for the cop's first name. He's had this case for 3 months. She's like, what's the guy's name? She's typing the information. He's like, hold on 1 second. And now he's looking.
What a moron.
Guy is, you don't know this information right off the bat. I could have made this phone call. I could look at a case note that I know nothing about and make this phone call without ever peering back down at the thing. Maybe I don't know the spelling, but this guy doesn't even know the name.
He's still looking.
First name will be Sean, SHAWN, and last name will be Moabir. It's MOHABIR.
He could read. Congratulations, Travis.
It took him a while though. He had to divide up the
Right.
first name with the last name.
What was your name again, and a good contact
My name-
number for you guys?
Sure. My rank, I'm a sergeant. First name is Travis, TRAVIS. And my last name is Rutherford, RUTHER, F as in Frank, ORD as in David. And my phone number here, it's
Did
Yes.
you guys want to call
We'll,
back?
we'll
once
give you the
you
number to
see
IAB if you need it. I don't know why they blocked that
John
out. I'll give
on
you
the board,
Travis'
or do you just
first
wanna stay
first
handled with him
direct
and
line as
have
well.
him
Yeah,
follow up
I would
immediately?
say just handle with him because we're just making it on his behalf.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate the information. We do have a unit en route now, and if anything were to change, just give us a call back, okay?
And your name.
So that's the point that I want to highlight right there, right? So that's the key point right there. Now, he gives the guy's name. He never says that he was a cop. He never says that he has access to firearms. He never relays any of the information. She says he doesn't know if I'm home. She says I'm sending a unit right now. He doesn't say, "Oh, wait, I'm not sure that if he's home or not. Don't rush. This was 15 months ago." He makes it sound like it's happened just now. He makes it sound like it happened just now, doesn't tell the 911 operator it's a cop, and he elicits a false response to 911. Now, whether he does it intentionally or because he's just obviously highly incompetent, or maybe it's just both, he's highly incompetent and he did that intentionally, it really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he endangered those cops' lives. He endangered my family's life. He endangered my life. And he elicited a false 911 response. I mean, he committed a crime. It doesn't matter. He never says anything. Never says this guy was a cop. Never says, "Oh, don't have them rush there." Right? I mean, that would have been the first thing I would have said. Like, "Oh, this happened 15 months ago. I just want to refer it. Should I call back tomorrow? Should I call back maybe on Monday?" Right? No. Travis doesn't even know he's on the phone with 911. Special Investigation Unit. And guess what? He didn't get in trouble for this. There was no after action report for this. There was nothing. Oh, and I called Group 1 immediately after that. I'm sorry, I didn't call Group 1 because they were too cowardly to pick up the phone. I called the IAB Command Center, and I called the Internal Affairs IAB Command Center, and they were like, "What do you want us to do?" I was like, "I want to file a complaint on Sergeant Travis Rutherford right now for harassment, for eliciting a false 911 response, for sending cops to my home without even knowing I'm there. I want to file a complaint against Travis Rutherford. I want someone else to handle this investigation immediately." I've never been contacted by anybody from the NYPD again, not anyone in Group 1, and it's necessary as per their own rules that they're supposed to contact me within 72 hours, and nobody contacted me. That is the NYPD today. A bunch of incompetent, unconfident cowards, complete cowards.
Listen, there's no doubt Travis Rutherford, and he's not the only one, right? Travis Rutherford happens to be the last investigator in this case that we actually had contact with. But all the investigators that have been part of this allegation and the charges alleged by John and myself have been completely cowards, have stonewalled us, and have refused to take a report. The investigation was done by the NYPD. Sean Mohabir is identified. He was a member of the service at the time of these threats, and every reason to believe, every indication that he was on duty, and every indication he did not act alone. So why wouldn't the NYPD want to disclose and uncover and expose what's going on with this investigation to eradicate any psychological issues with the NYPD? Are we to believe that there's just a bunch of psychos in the NYPD running around? Is that what we're supposed to believe? That there's no MO, we just have a bunch of psychos? Let's go back to Travis. You can hear his demeanor on the phone. He's completely sheepish. He's awkward. And the fact that he's omitting so much information is what makes it dangerous. That he's not providing the information detail. He doesn't disclose the fact that these threats should be taken very serious, that this is from a member of the service who was armed, who may be armed at this point. He did not get fired or terminated from the police department. He resigned, which means he retired, which is every indication he could be a law enforcement officer as we speak in another jurisdiction. He could be a firearm carrying person. And he does not describe what those posts are and the actual threats. He doesn't explain that these posts are threats. And he pretends he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't even know what the guy's name is. I don't know if he's a complete retard or just a complete idiot, or he's doing that on purpose because what he knows is doing wrong. I think it's both. I think he's a complete idiot. I think he's a complete
But
idiot.
what about the time frame too, dude? You don't say like, oh, this was 15 months ago.
Well, that's my point. The fact that he's omitting the information that's what makes it dangerous, because he doesn't say, listen, take your time. There's no reason to have an immediate response. These threats came about 15 months ago. We're reporting it now as our investigation unfolds. That's not what he's saying. He didn't say, hey, it should have been, listen, if you really want to call 911, I don't think that's necessary. It should have been, I'm Sergeant Travis Rutherford from the New York City Police Department. I work for Internal Affairs. We have a retired member of the service who lives in your county, who was threatened by a former member of the service who was armed, who may be armed now, and that's why these threats are serious. He doesn't say that. And that this threats started January of 2024. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say it because what he knows is doing wrong. He knows that he's wrong. That's why he sounds so sheepish. Yes, he's a complete idiot. He's an idiot because he's willing to do it. None of us would have done it. Anyway. I gotta let me see.
AB says, give him a break. He did an excellent job of describing a photo over the phone. That's very hard to do. Yeah.
KB, he should have been honest.
Dude, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
If you guys who are watching this, right? If you're an instructor in the academy, you should spend like an hour and talk to these recruits, right? Let them know that if you got to call another police department, you're the NYPD. You're not some small town department, right? When you call another department, you're the NYPD. They assume this is something bad. This is something imminent. We got to take action. And they're giving you the benefit of the doubt because you're the NYPD. So first of all, you better be on your P's and Q's when you call them with the information, right? Second of all, if it's not imminent, right, you better let them know it's not imminent because they're already pulling out all the stops because you're NYPD and you're calling them, right?
You're right. So
you can't call them and tell them something is happening and make it seem like it's imminent because then it's you're causing a lot of resources to be used and a lot of commotion that's needless. Okay, so
well, I'm not laughing at you, but this is hysterical because KV says I'm sure he faxed the photo too. I can only say, hold on, the fax is coming through.
Bro,
he definitely faxed those photos 100%.
They should have give this to the cadet over there. You know, I'm sure the cadet would have done a better job.
Just think about how dumb you have to be. And so this kid, and Jessica, this is my point to you. This kid was an investigator in the command center in IAB, an investigator, right? This is the perfect example of why nobody should ever rise the ranks in IAB. You shouldn't leave for a year or two and come back. You shouldn't be a cop there and then a detective and then a sergeant and then a lieutenant and then a captain and then make yourself all the way up to the Group 1 CO. Like, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. But this is the level of cop you have working in internal affairs. I'm sorry. I've said it before on here. Everyone in the New York City Police Department should work a stint in the Internal Affairs Bureau. Everybody. Maybe you bring a guy back as a chief later on, but you never bring a guy back in those other ranks. And anyone that continuously wants to go back there, I'm sorry, no. Like, you need to be a well-rounded officer. You need to be well-rounded in investigations and handling criminal investigations. You need to know what actually happens out there on the street as well to conduct proper investigations against your own staff. I think IB is a great resource, but it's just totally mishandled, and it's the fault of guys like this, dude. You know, like, he was an investigator. He's SDS. He'll make lieutenant. He'll leave for a couple of months. He'll come back. He'll be a lieutenant there. He'll get LSA there or LSD. He'll go, and he'll go that whole route. Same one as the Group 1 CO currently. And Pat Donahue says Group 25 is better. Yeah, Group 25 is better investigators. I'll agree with that. I know those guys also. But you want to laugh, though? You want to laugh about Group 25? I'll tell you a story about Group 25. There was a lieutenant on our case, and I can't remember his name right now. He was one of the 2 or 3 lieutenants that we had assigned to our case.
Miles?
Miles. What was his name? Miles Kennefic? Nah. Miles. Whatever his name was. I don't remember the guy's name. Miles something. So anyway, he gets booted out of Group 1 after he gets our case. He's like, we're ready to tell you who all cops are woke is. He gets booted out of Group 1 that night. And then, and so like this whole thing comes down. Group 1's gone. He's in Group 25 right now. Why? Why is he now? And I thought he got booted out. I thought Jessica Tisch cleaned up the Internal Affairs Bureau. I thought Group 1 wasn't doing the right thing. I thought the chief of internal affairs wasn't doing the right thing. And to even laugh further is like knowing Sal Greco's case. They sent a picture of Sal Greco and Roger Stone. Someone sent a picture of Sal Greco and Roger Stone to the Internal Affairs Bureau. Said that Sal Greco is trying to overthrow the United States government. Right? I'm sorry to laugh, but like this is what happened. This is what happened. They sent a picture saying Sal Greco is trying to overthrow the United States government. And IAB goes on a 16-month witch hunt against Sal Greco. They illegally subpoena all of his phone documents. They do all this stuff, criminal association. They charge him with uncompensated security because they couldn't prove that he was ever compensated. It's a charge that doesn't exist, and it doesn't even appear on any of his charges because they called it something else, right? So they charged him with all this crazy stuff. And Sal Greco, in his deposition, they bring up the Group 25 lieutenant who investigated this case, and they say, Sal Greco says, how could you fire me for criminal association when you can't even define it? And here's the police commissioner and the chief of internal affairs and people in Group 1 and all these other people associating with a known criminal in this photo. You know what the lieutenant says? Well, we can't just say someone's criminal association based upon a photo. You fired the guy based upon a photo. You went on a 16-month witch hunt over a photo. But when I get a photo about other people, no. What? Is it because what? You don't like Italians? You don't like Catholics? What is it? Or is it just, it's only if you're in with the in crowd? So Group 25, are they better investigators? Maybe. I don't really know. Because again, the entire upper echelon of the NYPD is systemically corrupt. And what the F is anybody in the Internal Affairs Bureau doing about it? Nothing. You know what they're doing? They're sending St. Johns County sheriffs to my house 15 months later. This is the level of investigator they have. It's not hard to be a better investigator than this. I had cadets that'll be a better investigator than Group 1 right now, than Travis Rutherford. I have cadets that would be. I know PAAs I would trust way more, and that's not a knock on PAAs, but they should be making the money this idiot's making.
This is why I'll defend what I always say. I always say that the upper echelon, and when I say this, I say the chiefs, every chief on this job is compromised. We know that all the chiefs talk. Majority of the chiefs, if not all of them, watch this podcast. And we've been expressive and adamant about this case with All Cops Are Woke. And not one chief has ever spoken about it. Not one ever notified Internal Affairs. Not one condemned the actions of All Cops Are Woke or anyone that's behind it. This is why I say that they're all compromised. So it's interesting also, right? When John called me that night and said the police responded for All Cops Are Woke, I was like, what? This is 15 months ago. They came now. So we decided at that point, we'd both call IAB. So I called Internal Affairs and said, I want Travis Rutherford recused from this case. I want to make a complaint against him. I want a new investigator. And John, when was that? Because since that date, we have not been contacted, not through email, not through phone. There hasn't been any communication other than getting a lot number. We were supposed to be contacted within a couple of days and immediately have some rapport and some information provided. We just been completely stonewalled. So to your question earlier, Mikey G says, where's this going? Probably nowhere. But that doesn't mean we should just give up, right? There's a difference between being a nice guy and a good guy. A nice guy wants everything smooth, but a good guy wants to do what's right, even if there's opposition. So we're not going to give up. We want to find out what's going on with this. Because let's be honest, if they could do this to 2 retired lieutenants, what would they do to just 2 average civilians? What if they were just 2 average civilians that were so critical of the police department? They had an insight to what's going on with the NYPD, and they read, and they had a lot of knowledge, or maybe they were being fed information by 2 retired lieutenants. What would happen to them? We have an understanding of silver lining. We're not intimidated by the police department. Listen, I wasn't in IAB. I didn't do GOs, but I was on the other end of GO 15s. I had, because of CCRB, after COVID, because during COVID they weren't doing the GO 15s. I had 8 GO 15s in one day. I spent my entire day. So I've been on the other side, and I know the conversation, what kind of questions should be asked. Travis Rutherford is a bum. He sounds like a complete idiot. He sounds unprofessional, and this is why I get these crazy looks when I go throughout the country. People like, when I tell people I was NYPD, like, oh, wow, what's going on in that city? No longer are we the GOAT of policing. No longer do we have that stigma of professionalism, of being that big brother. Like you said, Marlon, when he called, it should have been a big deal. Like, wow, NYPD. And they took it serious, right? But we're losing that ability to have that appearance of being the NYPD. We're not to go to policing anymore. And it's people like Travis Rutherford and the upper echelon that have to protect their egos in this corruption that's going on that just completely tainted the police department. And no longer is it something that we should be proud of, that it resembles what we served. The police department that we did is completely different what's going on right now. Did it have its faults? Yes. But the overwhelming majority of it was good at the core.
But how happy would you be if you got called into a GO and you see Travis Rutherford sit at the other end of the table? You're like, oh, all right, it's gonna easy that.
he doesn't even. He's
going
not
to
even
Group 1 and you see Travis Rutherford. Yeah,
I don't know, John. It could be the opposite way too, because like I said, I had a GO 15 in 28 when I told you, like when I was a rookie, I tried to get an apartment. The guy, I gave him my ID. He photocopied the ID and he gave it to his son to throw in the windshield for 3 years. IAB called me in. I remember the lieutenant in IAB telling me, "Oh, you're getting something for this. There's no way you're not getting anything for this." And I was like, "I didn't do anything." And had I not insisted, I would have gotten a hit for that, And the thing is, when you have incompetency at that level, they that doesn't properly do their job. Think how many cops they just said, you know what, it's 2 or 3 days. All right, I'll just take the hit, for pure incompetency like that.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
Probably more. Probably like 97% of the time, guys are signing off on discipline that they didn't deserve, that they did absolutely nothing wrong because they either just want to get promoted, get transferred, or they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And they're like, whatever.
Yep. Meanwhile, the guys who do things like steal time, like Gulanavo did in 2015, get promoted. It's not a big deal if you got the right connections. None of it matters. So it's endemic of the problems in the job.
Well, I see the investigation is going really well. I mean, he doesn't even know the guy's. He barely knows the guy's name. He doesn't know what the pictures are. And that's not the only picture. There was several pictures. There was several posts of threatening messages from all cops. And he could barely describe a picture with a rifle. I mean, like KB said, that's a great description. Just a complete idiot. What a bum. But again, I know. I heard it. You heard it. We all analyze behavior. He knew what he was doing was wrong. That's why he was so sheepish, and that's why he was omitting information. He just wanted to get through with it. And what was the most important thing? Can I get your name? He wanted her name at the end just to check a box, do his DD5s, right? Anybody outside the NYPD, DD5 is just a folder. It's part of casework, whatever you refer to it as. So he's doing his casework. He just wants to sign it off. That's his investigation. We called 911. We referred it to Florida.
Yeah. This guy, you got to wonder about his supervisors too, because if I did that in Leeds, my sergeant would have ripped me. Like, what do you mean you referred it to 911? Really? You referred a case to 911? The operator at 911? There was no way I could have gotten away with that. How is he able to do it?
But and that's my point. Like, let's just say it was done completely unintentionally. There's been not even a re-instruction from it. They think this is how they should operate, dude. Like, that's my whole point in this. Like, I personally think it was done intentionally and purposely, not on Travis Rutherford's part. He was ordered to do it. That's how I feel. But like, Travis Rutherford's the guy walking to a bagel store, great bagel store. Go to it's the best bagels you're gonna get in Florida, right? I go there. I'm like, yeah, can I get a bacon, lettuce, tomato? The girl's like, looks at me. She goes, 1 at a time, please. I was like, forget about it. And I just walked out. That's Travis Rutherford. That's Travis Rutherford. That's group one. That's what they are. That's your CO. Like, there's been no reinstruction, Marlon.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.